G'day guys, it is Rhys from VEMA Trader here, and when I'm not taking in beautiful, majestic views like this, what I like to do is make videos that can hopefully help you guys improve your trading. So, we've had a lot of users lately saying that they're struggling with tags. They don't know what to tag, they're not sure how to use tags to benefit them, which is something that I really want to help with because I think tags are potentially the most powerful thing in VEMA, which is a huge call. There is a lot of powerful things in VEMA, but tags are something I'm a huge fan of. I think they can be really, really useful for improving your trading profitability if you know how to use them. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys the things that I like to tag, both before I enter a trade and then also during a trade and after a trade. You guys might not resonate directly with the things that I do tag, but hopefully they will show you guys, okay, here's what he's going for, here's what he's trying to work on, and that might help you develop your own tagging system of what you want to tag and what works for you. So what we'll do is we'll head to VEMA Trader and we'll get started. Okay, so the first important thing to consider is what do you need to tag and what does VEMA tag for you? So VEMA actually tags a ton of things automatically. So you can see here, looking at my analysis screen, I have user tags. These are the things that I have manually entered that I have tagged. We'll get to those in a minute. But what we want to take a think about now is what are the things that VEMA is automatically tagging, because then I don't have to worry about tagging them myself. Now, the very first one is account type. Is this a paper trade or a live trade? VEMA will tag that for you. You don't need to enter that. Conditions. Are you using confirmation? Are you using candle close? Is it a manual entry trade? All tagged for you. Whatever you set your confidence and your mood to will automatically be tagged, as will your day of the week, the direction. This is a really important one. I think the most common tag we see in VEMA at the moment is long. I think that's the number one tag. It's unnecessary to tag it because VEMA tags it automatically for you. Exchange, the coin pair are both automatically tagged, as is the hour of day. Now, of course, there's different time zones. So this is a user settable default. You'll find it in your settings. You can set the time zone that you are in, and then VEMA will respond accordingly with these tags. The interval as well, the time frame that you take the trade on, automatically tagged for you. The market session, this is a fantastic addition. Richard got this in, I think, in the last release. It is really, really cool. So it automatically tags, okay, when that trade entered, what market session was currently active, if any. Sometimes there's not one, but I think that is a huge, huge piece, right? You can now look up, okay, I'm trading best in the New York Open, and you don't have to tag that manually. VEMA is automatically doing that for you. I think it's a really cool addition. Big shout out to Richard for that one. Whatever you set as the mood, like we said before, that is automatically tagged. Your risk to reward. So we currently tag those in ranges. You can see the ranges here. That is automatically tagged. The type of stop loss you use. The strategy you use. Symbol, like we said before. And I think, okay, there's going to be a billion symbols. I think that is it. I think symbol's the last one. Ooh, we got a couple more, even better. Take profit metric, of course, so the type of take profit you use, whether that's percentage or value, and then the outcome of the trade. Again, a really cool addition to tags. Again, something that Richard got in. He is a fantastic dev. You guys should really, I mean, it's cool. A lot of stuff he does, a lot of stuff all the devs do is cool, but yeah, Richard is really, really good at just finding really cool little features and adding them in. So this one is the outcome. Was the trade a win? Was it a loss? Was it break even, or did the trade never enter? You can now search by that and it's automatically tagged. These are all things that you don't need to manually tag because VEMA tags them for you on every single trade. Okay, so now we know what VEMA is tagging automatically. It's time to dig into what do you want to tag? What manual tags do you want to add that you can then collect data on and analyze that data later? So I like to split these into categories. And the very first category split that I use is personal versus trading. Personal tags are things that affect me personally. They're not trading related, but they're things that can affect how I trade. So these are things like hours slept. This is the first one that comes to mind for me because it was one of the first things I realized was impacting my trading. I realized that when I was having less than 6 hours sleep, I was losing far more often than when I was getting a proper night's sleep. And so the very first thing I did when I realized that was I put a new rule in my trade plan saying I don't trade if I have less than 6 hours sleep. That is essentially the entire point of tagging and analyzing your data, is it then helps you tweak your trade plan, which makes you more profitable. So hours slept, I think, is a great thing to tag. Now, how you tag that will be completely up to you. Personally, I only tag less than 6 hours and I don't bother tagging more than 6 hours in any way because it's kind of the default. If trade doesn't have less than 6 hours, then I know I had more than 6 hours on that trade. But you might decide to do it in ranges. You might want to go less than 6, then 6 to 8, and then 8 plus. You might want to go the specific hours. You might go 7.5 last night, and whatever the case may be. So how you do it will be up to you, but I think hours slept is a great thing to keep an eye on when you are tagging. The second option is mood. So we do have the mood scale here, and we do automatically log what you set there. So that's kind of a 1 to 5 mood scale, but you might want to get more granular with it. You might want to say, I am angry, I am excited, I am anxious, I am happy, I am sad, I am, whatever the case may be, frustrated. There is a great video on mood. I'll see if I can link it. It's a long time since I saw it, but he essentially talks about, I think it's 8 basic emotions. So that would be things like happy, sad, angry, and then how those emotions, he essentially splits those into almost infinite categories, right? So you can be angry, but then you dig into that and you go, okay, I'm actually frustrated. I'm actually envious. I'm actually, this or that. And angry is the kind of overarching emotion, but then he gets really specific with it. So you might want to do it as, okay, which of the 8 basic emotions am I feeling? Hopefully I can find that video for you guys, because, even outside of trading, I think it's a useful video to watch. So mood is another one that I quite like in the personal category. Another one is, have I exercised today? Have I exercised? So not everyone will use this tag, and not everyone will use any of these tags, but these are all things that you can consider, right? I'm just trying to give you guys ideas for what you want to be tagging. I know that I feel much better if I do exercise. If I exercise first thing in the morning, it kind of sets my day up well. I don't know how I perform when I exercise versus when I don't, because to be honest, I basically don't trade if I don't exercise in the morning. So kind of all my trades are exercise-based trades. But if that's not the case for you, it could be something that you want to start tagging. Have you exercised that morning? In fact, you might want to get granular with this, and you might want to specify, was it resistance training? Was it cardio? Was it high-intensity interval training? What was the specific exercise? Meditation is another one. Did I meditate this morning? Mediation. Have I been to marriage counselling? I think that's what mediation is. I think it's a thing with... I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, meditation. Have I meditated today? So, these are all things that can affect your mental state, and that your mental state is basically the key to trading. That's going to make a huge difference in how you trade. So these are all things that can potentially be worth tagging. Another great one is coffee, right? For me, I'm an absolute caffeine junkie. Love it. If I have 1 or 2 coffees, fantastic. If I have 6 or 7 coffees, I'm probably an anxious wreck. Probably shouldn't be trading because I'm probably feeling pretty bad. So, have I had a coffee, or how many coffees I've had could be something that's worth me tracking to see how do I perform when I've had X amount of caffeine. Alcohol, great one, right? Never been a thing for me. I do drink, but I just have never touched trading after starting drinking. But that might not be the case for you. And if that's the case, if you are drinking and trading, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. I kind of think it's a bad combo, but that doesn't mean it's a bad combo. If you're going to trade after you've been drinking, tag it. Tag it every time you do, because then you can come back and check, okay, am I actually performing well when I trade after I drink? If not, probably a good thing to put in your trade plan. I do not trade once I've drank alcohol. So there are plenty more personal tags. Hopefully this just gives you guys, an insight into, okay, where do I actually start? What do I use to tag? What is useful data to collect? All these things I think can be very useful data points, and you might find ones that apply specifically to your personal life. It could be, let's say you've got kids. It could be, are the kids home? Because maybe they're distracting you, and you're not focusing as well. Or maybe you don't trade as well when the kids aren't around because you miss them. Who knows? So things like that, only you can really know, what's in your personal life that you might want to tag. But I love categorizing in these ways, right? Personal versus trading. It just kind of helps me think of what should I tag, and what can affect either my mindset. So I suppose that's the thing. Personal tags are probably things that affect your mindset more than anything else. And then trading tags are specific to the trading. So that's probably a better way of categorizing them than personal and trading. In fact, I am now going to change this to mindset. I think that kind of makes more sense. So the second category that we have is trading. So trading tags. For me, the very first trading tag that I always think of is bias. I'm a big fan of a high time frame bias, and that may differ for you. So your time frame will change what you consider a high time frame bias. Now, how I think of that is if I am trading on the 4 hour, I use a daily high time frame bias. But if I'm trading on the 15 minutes, I will use a 4 hour high time frame bias. There's no point using a monthly high time frame bias when you're trading on the 3 minutes. I shouldn't say no point because someone probably does it to great success, but I kind of think of that as the scale is just too far out. You know, in the same way that what an ant's doing doesn't really matter to me, I don't really see what the monthly is doing mattering on the 3 minute candles. So I just like to pick a time frame that's, 1 or 2 steps higher, and run with that as my high time frame bias. So bias is something that I do love to tag. Another one is, what is my entry strategy? So this would be things like we showed in the automatic tags, right? We are automatically tagging the strategy. So let's set this as a cross. That is automatically tagged. But I'm talking about things like, okay, you might use the market maker method, right? If you use a market maker method, you can tag that strategy. If you use a bull flag entry strategy, you might have a strategy called bull flags. So you can tag bull flag. For me, I have kind of phase 1 and phase 2. I can tag those. I also have 15-minute fibs. I have a bunch of different strategies. By tagging that strategy name, it means that I can quickly just go to the analyze section and sort by that strategy, and I can see, okay, that strategy is performing well for me, or that strategy is not. If it's not, I can then dig deeper into it with some of these other tags and try and find where it's profitable and where it's not. But it's good to just have a strategy name that you can search really quickly and easily. Another thing I like to tag in the trade category is entries. So entry is, in fact, let's change that. We'll call it rules for entry. Reasons is probably better than rules, actually. Reasons for entry. So this would be things like, okay, I'm entering because there is a supply zone. I'm entering because there is a demand zone. I'm entering because there's a trend line and fibs, and the 61.8 fibs specifically. You will see me often tag 1, fibs, because I am using fibs, but 2, the specific fib level that I use. So in fact, specific, I'm just going to call these specific fib levels, but it doesn't have to be fibs, right? You guys might use this in some other way, but my reason for entry, I would say, is fibs. And then I like to tag the specific fib level because that way I can see, okay, I have a 50% win rate with fibs, let's say, but I might have a 75% win rate from the 61.8 and the 50 fib, and a 20% win rate from the 38.2. And I can quickly go, okay, well, then the 38.2, depending on the risk to rewards I'm taking from that level, it may not be profitable for me. And so by cutting it, I can actually become more profitable, because then I would just be getting, let's say, a 60% win rate on fibs if I'm only taking it from the 50 and the 61.8. So it doesn't have to be fibs. You might have other examples of where you can get more specific on your reason for entry that can help you to be profitable, but fibs is my sort of classic go-to for that. Reasons for entry could also include indicators, or even if you're not using that as a reason for entry, you might use that for something like your bias, or whatever the case may be. So you might want to tag if price is oversold, overbought. Again, kind of goes into reasons for entry, but it may not. It may be sort of a slightly different thing. What else is there to tag? So counter trend trading, right? That is one that I do love. I both love to do it because I like to think I'm smart on the market, and I love to tag it because I am very rarely smart on the market, and it's good for me to realize that. Counter trend trading. So again, I think that is a great trading tag. Okay, so those are some of the things I tag while I am setting up a trade. But the next thing that I like to tag is mid and post-trade tags. So these are things that I will tag, let's say, monitoring. So before the trade is entered, or after the trade is entered but before it's exited. And then review would be after the trade has exited, or if it never entered in the first place, that is also worth reviewing, right? So mid-trade tags, the first one that comes to mind for me is fear or greed. Now, you can still keep tagging mood mid-trade. I personally don't. But what I will tag is, do I feel fear or do I feel greed? Is price getting towards my take profit and I start going, oh, I want to move my take profit further because, I don't want to take profit too early. This is going to keep going. That is greed. That is greed in a nutshell. If price is getting towards my stop loss, do I start wanting to manually close the trade? Because I'm worried, it's going to hit my stop loss, so I better just get out now for a small loss than letting it get all the way to my stop loss. That is feeling fear. It is worth tagging those things because if I do feel the fear and I act on it and I close out that trade manually, I can come back and analyze, okay, every time I feel fear and I do, let's say, manually close, I can then take a look, okay, of those 10 trades, 1 went on to hit my stop loss, 9 went on to hit my take profit. Then I know I should not be closing when I feel that fear. Next time it happens, I can say, okay, I feel that fear, I still want to close it, but I have the data to say I should let this go. And it might hit my stop loss, it still could, but when you have that data, it really helps you make those decisions, and again, it improves your trading profitability. So another one is exit rules. All right, I have an exit rule that if price closes, I basically use a manual stop loss and then back it up with my automatic, stock market stop loss. My manual stop loss is a horizontal price that if price closes below twice, I exit the trade. Now I say I exit the trade, I have ignored my manual stop loss so many times. I'm usually really good with my trading rules. For some reason, this rule, even though I know it's beneficial, I've gotten a lot better, but I had a real problem with ignoring it. And I've got to be honest, I still do ignore it from time to time. For whatever reason, this rule specifically, I am very slack with. So, exit rules, right? If you break your exit rules, if you ignore them, make sure you tag it. Because it could be the case that rule is unnecessary. It's actually costing you money and it's not worth having it. But if it's not, and like me, it's an exit rule that actually makes you more profitable, but you're ignoring it, make sure you tag that because then you can come back and see, okay, it's actually cost me this much in the last month, ignoring that rule. I've lost 5 times as much as what I would have if I had actually stuck to that rule. Those kind of things will really help you stick to your rules. They're definitely what's helped me get better with ignoring my manual stop loss. Moving your stop loss and moving your TP, right, kind of ties into fear and greed. Not necessarily, because there are very valid reasons to move both those. But if you're moving it because of fear or greed, tag both. Tag that you move your stop loss and tag that you were feeling fear. And even you might want to tag move stop loss because fear. You might be moving it for a valid reason though. You could have a new market structure forming and you're moving your stop loss to map that market structure, reduce your losses, lock in some gains, whatever the case may be. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing to do, but tagging it just helps you come back and see how you're performing when you are doing these things. Market structure changing, right? Let's say you're in a long. Let's say you're in a long and you start to see bearish market structure forming. You might not have exit rules based around that. So you might not exit that trade, but it could be something that you can collect the data on and see, okay, whenever I am in a long and I start to see bearish market structure, I'm actually losing 80% of those trades. Once that happens, and I'm not closing them, so they end up, going to hit my stop loss, even if you move your stop into profit. If you start to have a rule of when I see, let's say 2 lower lows form, I manually close that trade, you might find that will make you much more profitable. You will be losing much less or winning more on trades that start to show the opposite market structure. And you could do the same with anything, right? You could use the RSI and say, okay, when it gets into oversold, I close. Whatever the case may be, but just tagging those things when you do notice them happening as you're in an open position can really help you improve your profitability. Another good one like that is reasons for entry invalidated. So let's say that you entered because of a trend line and it was an uptrend and you've entered and you've gone long and you're happy with things, but then that trend line breaks. That might invalidate your reasons for entry. And again, you may not have exit rules in place, but it's worth keeping an eye on that because you might find, okay, once those reasons for entry get invalidated, those trades are never winning for me. And so I don't want to keep staying in trades once those reasons for entry are invalidated. You've basically, the whole point of tagging is to, like I said before, is to end up improving your trade plan. So anything you can tag that can help you build rules in your trade plan to be more profitable is a great thing to tag. These are just examples. So those are some ideas for monitoring. Oh no, I can't zoom out anymore. This is going to get squashed. Let's, oh no. Let's just bunch everything up a little bit. Sorry guys, bear with me. Awful, 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 awful. Let's get into review. So, review is probably my favorite place for tags. I think there's something about after a trade has exited that often gives you a bit more mental clarity on what was going on, how you felt. You've got to be careful with that one because it's easy to sort of colour your perception of, oh, I knew this trade was going to enter. I knew this trade was going to win after it's won, and I knew this trade was going to lose after it's lost. It's not necessarily true. You've got to be a little bit careful with review tags, but I do think review is where a lot of the really good data can be found. So, things that I like to tag after a trade, number one is anything on the bad habits checklist. I will link this in the description. But the bad habits checklist is things like, move my stop loss too early, did not move my stop loss when I should have. For me, that manual exit thing, if I ignore that, that is a great review tag to put in. Things like too much risk, right? Too much risk. And that might be, you might have used 1% risk, but your account might be bigger than you have the psychology to handle. And so you found, I was in this trade for 3 days and I was checking every 10 minutes. I just had to keep checking, how's the trade going? How's the trade going? I wasn't sleeping because I was worried about the money I could have lost. If you notice things like that, tag them and make changes to fix it, essentially. Things like targets too aggressive. So did you shoot for a 30 to 1 and price got to a 5 to 1 and you could have made great money on that trade, but you just wanted, essentially you got greedy. You just thought, it's going to keep going. Things like that. On the reverse side, price continued beyond TP. So this is a great one, I think, because you might regularly shoot for a lot less than what the trades are doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can be very profitable doing that. And I would argue it's better than the opposite. It's better to shoot for enough than to shoot for too much and get nothing. But if you are consistently hitting 2 to 1s and price consistently going to 3 to 1 or 10 to 1, you can probably start to push your targets a bit further out and really start to increase your profitability. Another one would be wicked out. So did you see price just wicked your stop loss and then continued exactly as you expected it to go? By tagging that, you can start to go, okay, I need to give my stop loss a little bit more room, or I need to enter just a little bit closer to where my stop loss would have been because I'll get a better entry and my stop loss will be further. I'm less likely to get wicked out. If you constantly see yourself getting wicked out, it's kind of a good thing, right? It shows that your getting wicked out and then price getting to your take profit. It shows your TA is pretty good. It doesn't take much tweaking to get from there to being a profitable trader. But if you constantly tag that wicked out, you can go back and look, okay, I'm constantly getting wicked out when I do this. I don't put my stop loss below market structure, or I miss this. It just really helps you improve your profitability. On the above, fear or greed cost me, right? If you notice, hey, I did this thing because I felt fear or because I felt greed, and that backfired, that cost me money on this trade, tag it and really try and work on when you do feel that fear or feel that greed, don't do the thing that you feel like you should do. Did you overmanage the trade? Were you, again, if you're checking it every 10 minutes, fair enough if you're scalping, nothing wrong with that. But if you're on the dailies and you're checking it every 10 minutes, there's kind of a problem there. You shouldn't be doing it. I shouldn't say shouldn't, but I wouldn't recommend doing that because not much happens on the daily time frame in 10 minutes. So if you overmanaged, if you undermanaged, you should have moved your stop loss, but you didn't. Things like that are worth tagging. Big one, broke rules. If you broke the rules of your trade plan in any way, shape, or form, whether that be at entry, during the trade, I don't think you can break your rules post-trade, but maybe there's a way. Let me know if you think of a way to do it post-trade. If you break those rules, make sure that you tag that, because then you can come back and go, okay, I've broken my rules on 30 trades, and every one of those has cost me money. I really need to stop breaking the rules of my trade plan. All right, so there you have it. Those are the things that I like to tag because I think that they can improve my profitability over time. Hopefully that helped inspire you guys into some of the things that you might want to start tagging in your own journals. If you do have any really cool things that have shown profitability or big weaknesses in your trading that you've then improved upon by tagging, please do let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear them because I'm always interested to see what people find that works for them. You might find that full moons are terrible for your trading. If that's the case, drop it in the comments. I would love to hear about it. So that's it from me. Have a great day, happy trading, and I will talk to you guys very soon.